Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, yes, I'm camping again, and this might be one of the last camping trips of the year. I mean, right now temperatures are sub-zero. It's getting really cold outside. The lake will be freezing at some point in time here, and a lot of the provincial parks where I go to are starting to close down. So I'm going to enjoy this time while I've got it here, and well, come along with me to talk about the morning news. So first up here, we're talking about the Internet Archive, and a lot of people have sent me messages about this one, and thank you to everyone who did. The Internet Archive appears to be back. I don't want to say it's back perfectly. I think service may be a little bit slow on the site and as they start to get things back up and get things squared up, but at the same time here, the Internet Archive appears to be back. So if there's anything on the Internet Archive that you needed to take a look at, well, I think you now can. Next up, we're talking about Nintendo, and it turns out that Nintendo has issued a DMCA and taken down a video from a very popular podcast. You may know the podcast as Nontendo Podcast, the one that was started by Beat 'em Ups Wood and also Bob Wolf, and if I'm not mistaken, Bob Wolf is no longer a part of it. Anyways, here they showcase some gameplay that Nintendo was not happy about. And that gameplay, surprise, surprise, was the NSO playtest gameplay. Nintendo has been very active at trying to take that stuff off the internet. And it's kind of the worst kept secret out there. I mean, there's a lot of Twitch streams out there, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, and gameplay from this thing just keeps popping up. It's kind of a secret to everyone. So based on my understanding of the situation, the Nontendo podcast has since re-uploaded that podcast with the Nintendo content censored. And interestingly, there's an uncensored version over on their Patreon page, which I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo went after as well. I find it hard to believe that they thought Nintendo wouldn't take down that footage. I don't want to say that that was kind of bait for Nintendo to do and then them to talk about here. But realistically, like, what were they thinking? They should have known that Nintendo was going to come after that video. I mean, Nintendo has been very, very active at taking that stuff off the internet. Who knows here, maybe it was just a major oversight that they didn't think was going to happen here, but at the same time, I mean, I'm not surprised. Moving on, and next up, we're talking about limited run games, and limited run games is in yet another controversy. And this is a controversy that has kind of come up from a previous controversy, and that is surrounding the use of CDRs for some of their games here that a lot of people were not happy about, and Limited Run issued an apology about. If my memory serves me right, Limited Run Games was founded by Douglas Bogart and Josh Fairhurst, and then later on Douglas Bogart left the company, and there was a bit of controversy surrounding that, but they seemed to be on okay terms. Well, it turns out that Douglas Bogart said that Josh Fairhurst's plan all along was to use CDRs. So Douglas Bogart reportedly had a post over on Medium and has since reportedly been backed up on the Internet Archive. And anyways here, this is what the post says. I wasn't there when they sold CDRs to customers, but I was there when he being Josh Fairhurst, proposed the idea, and I, with a few other coworkers, told him it was a bad idea to sell burn discs to customers. But his response was it was cheaper and they wouldn't pay or notice it. I had hoped he got off that idea, but clearly didn't. Now, before I go any further here's a lone fluff on the water. It's a beautiful morning. There's smoke on the water. Well, this is my view this morning on this morning walk. I don't know if you can see it there, but there is a little tiny duck. I'm going to try to zoom in on him just a little bit there. I don't know if you guys can see him in the camera there, but he's just swimming away, enjoying the last of the warm temperatures of the water. I mean, the water's going to cool down pretty quick from now. So hopefully you like that fluff. There might be a few more. I can see a few more ducks just around the corner here. Maybe we'll get them on camera, maybe we won't. But anyways, if you wanted to read the article, I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. I mean, it's very interesting. And again, like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. And taking a look here at the article as well, there's also some, well, there's some more, I don't want to use the word damaging, but there's some more very questionable things in it. So it says, whenever there was a possible PR disaster and a way to avoid it, he wouldn't listen, he being Josh Fairhurst. A crappy internal saying was, it's good enough if we could save money. Wow, all these geese are flying directly towards me. Oh, now they're just going around. Those things are loud. Anyways, getting back to the article here, a crappy internal saying was, "It's good enough." If we could save money and cut corners, then it was okay if it was passable, and just pray no one took a hard look. No one can tell him anything unless you somehow convince him it's his idea. Tasks used to not get done at work for the longest time because he refused to relinquish control. He taught that behavior to a lot of us too. Well, go figure. So let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Take a look at the article, read it, and interpret it in any way you want, and then let me know your thoughts about it. I don't think this is a good look for limited run. I think this is going to be pretty damaging to the company, and we'll see what happens. But for me personally, I'm a lot less interested in picking up stuff from limited run based on the information that I've just learned. But who knows here, maybe my opinion is completely off base. Take a look at the article, formulate your own opinions, and let me know. But next up, we're talking about something I would say a little bit more exciting, and that is someone who has turned a PS4 into a handheld. I'm not joking with you here. They have a whole YouTube video up on it, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I do recommend checking this one out. It is super cool and something I wish PlayStation developed. I mean, sure, a lot of people like that PlayStation Portal, and by a lot, I probably mean a few. But anyways, here, I think this is what PlayStation should have strived for, having a frickin' handheld PlayStation. That is amazing. Now, obviously, the creation here is not mass production, but I'm very impressed with the end result. I'm very impressed with the end result for the form factor and the performance and basically everything. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, and let me know if you'd be more interested in a PS4 portable as opposed to a PlayStation Portal. Next up, we're shifting from PlayStation to Sega and talking about the Sega Dreamcast, specifically Sega Dreamcast Homebrew, and specifically a Sega Dreamcast Game Jam. There is a brand new Game Jam for the Sega Dreamcast, and I am all for it. There's a YouTube video up talking all about this. It's going to be hosted on itch.io, and there's going to be a lot of cool homebrew stuff in there, at least in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts about the Sega Dreamcast homebrew scene in the comments below, and if you'd be interested in checking out some homebrew games. The Dreamcast Game Jam is occurring between December 20th and January 4th. It's called Dream Disc 24, and they're saying here there will be a community vote. There's also going to be a top 3 games receiving a cash reward, and the top 10 games are going to be put onto a Game Jam disc. Next up, we're talking about the Nintendo DS, and if you're a fan of the Nintendo DS and you've got an iPhone and you've also got the Alt Store installed on your iPhone, well, you can pick up the latest version of Delta that has online multiplayer for Nintendo DS. It apparently has launched here on the Alt Store and will be heading over to the App Store hopefully in the near future. The exact quote here is, "Tired of playing with yourself? Good news, Delta 1.7b1 is now available for all patrons with our biggest addition yet, online multiplayer. Get those friend codes ready for trading." And that is right from the Alt Store here. The post is over on Reddit. Now, in my opinion here, it does kind of suck that the online multiplayer is hidden behind Patreon because, well, I think it's based on Melon DS, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, it doesn't really give me a good feel about the whole situation, but hopefully sooner rather than later it's released for free for everybody. Next up here, we're talking about the Croc Remaster, Croc Legend of Gobos, or Gobos. Anyways, here, if you were wondering about this game on PC, it will be heading to GOG, not Steam. I don't know if it's heading to Steam later on, but it's being reported that it will be a GOG exclusive. I don't know for how long though. I find that being an interesting move, but also at the same time not, because I don't really have any ill will towards GOG. All of their stuff is DRM free. And speaking about DRM, next up we're talking about Baldur's Gate and also Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Now, we've talked about The Lost Crown the other day when it turns out that Ubisoft has disbanded that team and it doesn't appear there's going to be a sequel. The game sold less than they wanted to. Anyways, it turns out that the director of publishing over at Baldur's Gate 3 says Ubisoft management is to blame for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown selling below expectations. I would agree with that. So based on the information out there, it seems that the director of publishing at Baldur's Gate 3 thought that the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown should have released on Steam as well as everything else all at once, instead of releasing in other places first and then being timed exclusive and then Steam a month later. He says here, if it had released on Steam, not only would it have been a market success, but there would likely be a sequel because the team are so strong. And for reference here, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown launched on the Ubisoft store and also on the Epic Games Store first, and it wasn't exclusive in both of those places on PC until later on it released on Steam. And that is possibly what had killed momentum for the game. And on top of that, the director says something super interesting. If the statement, gamers should get used to not owning their games, is true because of a specific release strategy, then the statement, developers must get used to not having jobs if they make a critically acclaimed game, is also true. And that just isn't sensible, even from a business perspective. So the gist of that statement has basically been shortened up to say, if gamers should get used to not owning games, developers must get used to not having jobs. Go figure. Let me know your thought about that one in the comments below. I mean, based on what I'm seeing here from the Baldur's Gate team, and well, that game is really high on my list of recommendations to friends. It's got a lot of great support. They seem to have their heads in the right places here, and well, I'm a big fan of it. And last up here, we're talking about Windblown, and Windblown has just released on Steam in early access. Feel free to check out the trailer on this one. It's being created by Motion Twin Games. And that name may be familiar to you because they were behind Dead Cells. This one to me looks super interesting. I mean, they say brave the vortex and dash your way to greatness in this lightning-fast action roguelite for 1 to 3 players from the crafters of Dead Cells. Absorb the powers of fallen warriors, rebuild their weapons, and wipe the floor with those sentinels in search of that perfect run. The early access cost on this one is 20% off, and well, it's under $30 in Canada, probably around $20 in the States. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, and well, the sun is coming out and I should have worn sunglasses. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff, or maybe one fluff, not the legendary one fluff. We talked about a few things today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of them in the comments below. I will be camping for a few days yet, so you'll get to enjoy the nature scenes for the next few videos at the very least. Anyways, if you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.